recording. Now we're just gonna wait a little bit.
Yeah, we're gonna vamp. We're gonna vamp until it gets up to speed here.
Cheers.
Cheers. So, Alex, speaking of Nancy Pelosi,
this is really good tea. I mean,
yeah.
would you spike it, Patty?
No,
Saint Patty?
Yeah, you stole that from Nancy Pelosi's office. I heard you were in Nancy Pelosi's office creating a lot of trouble concerning
Absolutely
the statement
not
by a rabbi.
Absolutely not.
And you wrote an article.
I was interviewing a rabbi, as a matter of fact, Rabbi Ari Spero.
Spero, which means hope, that means hope.
Really?
Yeah, it means hope.
Well, he was a very hopeful guy, very perfect gentleman. I was tasked with checking out this protest. There was
why was there a protest in Nancy's office? I guess there's one every day, right?
Yeah, somebody is protesting somewhere nowadays.
So what was the deal?
Well, what happened is there's this one congresswoman named Ilhan Omar, and she made a couple statements which many believe to be derogatory towards the Jews.
Anti-Semitic.
Yes, anti-Semitic. Many people took them as anti-Semitic. Right. And she apologized, and she said she's searching, she's trying to reach out and understand, and blah, 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 blah. But the Jewish community in her district actually made a statement saying, look, we tried, and she's not listening to us.
Right.
So, in any event,
so Rabbi Spero shows up.
No. Stop with the rabbis. We're not at the rabbi part yet. Okay. So Nancy Pelosi is trying to get control of her quickly polarizing party, her own part, the civil war within her own party. She's trying to maintain the fort like a good leader should try. And so she and many other Democrats, well, all Democrats actually, and I think only a couple Republicans dissented from passing this resolution. And I think, I did read through the whole resolution, and this resolution basically was a condemnation of all bigotry because we're all against mean things. It's against anti-Semitism, against
anti-Muslim,
anti-black, pretty much everything you can think of. Right. Now, the thing is you may be asking, well, why on earth would any person in Congress vote no to that? Well, if you talk to any of the nay voters, it's because they all saw it as a sham, as just something to cover their behind, as sort of
it's a feel-good statement.
Yes, it's like going to confession to say mea culpa, sing some Hail Mary, and you're done.
It's apple pie and motherhood. Who's going to be against that, right?
Right, exactly. So the big complaint was this doesn't fix the problem. We want real punishments. For example, Ilhan Omar should not be. That was the protest. Is they were demanding that she take much stronger actions to remove or stem the anti-Semitism coming from Ilhan Omar.
Well, isn't Ilhan Omar? Isn't she on the Foreign Affairs Committee? Hasn't she got a powerful?
That's what she was.
A powerful committee.
That's what they were suggesting, is that she gets removed completely.
Removed from the committee. Okay.
Yeah, that was what because they can't unelect her or sure, that's a district thing.
No, she'd have to be recalled by her district. That's
exactly.
That's not
so. That's really the best they can do to discipline her, and it's not completely unheard of. Steve King said some racist things, and
he got removed,
from all committee appointments.
Yep.
Not just some; it was all of them.
Yep.
So,
and he was a very powerful long-term congressman too, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. So I think that was a very nice gesture on the Republican Party, but I think the Democrats could also show solidarity and discipline out-of-line people. There's also Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, who allegedly fired a victim of rape. Assuming that the ethics committee comes out with some information explaining why she should be, definitive proof, then I would recommend, I hope the same action be taken against her. Nevertheless, getting back to the task at hand.
Yeah. Get to the rabbi part. The rabbi part.
Yes, we all love rabbis.
So I love rabbis. I love Jews.
Yes, more Jews. Yes,
I love Jews.
I hope I can marry a Jew someday so I can make more Jews. There's a weird
Well, you're
fantasy of mine.
Armenian. You're almost Jewish. I mean, you're
I
Armenian.
know, but if I marry a Jewish person, then my kid's mother will be Jewish.
They'll all be
So
Jewish.
it's a weird, crazy. It's a very, very malicious fantasy of mine against all anti-Semites because I think nothing would anger them more than knowing that there's a Jewish baby factory in my bedroom. But
Get
anyway,
to the rabbi part.
fine, we'll talk about rabbis.
Forget about
instead
your
of Jewish
bedroom,
babies.
okay? Get your mind out of your bedroom.
Anyway,
You don't even have a bed yet. So what are you doing in the
Shut up.
bedroom?
How do you know this?
God.
Anyway, about the rabbi. So Rabbi Spero he's leader of the National Conference of Jewish Affairs.
Yeah.
And what they are basically advocates for Orthodox Jews. They're supposed to politically represent Jews who are
Conservative.
yeah, who are conservative. And he says that that's about 30% of Jews because most Jewish synagogues and leaders are left-leaning. And so he effectively wants to represent the conservative part, which is fine. Mm-hmm. And what he wanted to do is show Nancy Pelosi that this is not cool. Stop it. They wanted to hand letters of disapproval, physical letters. So they basically stood outside of Nancy Pelosi's office. And, there's a bunch of people with cameras and this and that interviewing him. I got a chance to interview him. Very nice. We had a nice talk about the Armenians and Jews, how we got to stick together and blah, 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 blah. Very, very nice gentleman. So luckily I got to interview him very quickly because really within minutes after I was done, total chaos. There was literally right around the corner this group called Code Pink, which is
yeah, those are they still in business? They still running around?
How old are they?
Oh, they went. God, they're at least 2 decades old.
Really?
At least 20 years old. Yeah.
Well, there's about.
It's a movement.
I only saw and I only remember 2 young people. Most of them were actually quite old. I'd say
that's what I'm saying. They're
there was about 6 in total. I would just guess 6 in. There's about a dozen.
Yeah.
Plus, a dozen to 20 pro Israel or pro Jewish
conservative
people.
Jews.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there wasn't just Jews; it was also Christians.
Right.
They were part of that coalition because Rabbi Spero also asked for representation from the Christians who wanted a condemnation of anti-Semitism as well. So anyway, they came around the corner and they started waving their signs, yelling and shouting. They're wearing these pink police officer uniform. I don't really know what's up with that.
Code blue in hospitals is you're dying and they're sending the resuscitation squad down. And when the police officers go to a scene of an event, they have a certain code, like a 1086 or a 421. So what they've done is they've amalgamated the idea of a medical emergency with a police emergency, and it's code pink. That's how it happened.
Right. Well, they're a feminist organization. They're grassroots.
They're feminists.
Suppose I don't know if they're Soros funded or whatever.
No, they're 2nd generation feminists. They're not 1st generation feminists. And they're not 3rd generation feminists either. They're too old.
I don't think you know what the difference is. But anyway,
I know everything. I'm God, for God's sake.
Yes.
I know everything.
You certainly have an ego close to that size. Absolutely. In any event, though, one of the things they think is a strong feminist issue is liberation of Palestine. Right. And what that basically means is removal of Israeli settlements.
It means kill Jews. It means kill all the Jews.
Well, let me put it like this. It's not exactly all happy-go-lucky for the Jewish people living in Israel. So I did have the privilege of interviewing one protester. I don't recall I got her name, which is fine.
What did she say?
Well, they effectively were there to support Ilhan Omar. That from her own words.
Was Omar there in the room with you guys? Was she even there?
Pelosi wasn't there, but wait
a minute. Oh, this Omar creature. She shows up at the Cicilline religious freedom ban, but she doesn't show up here with the rabbi protest, yet
Oh,
the,
no, no,
the
no, no,
quote
no, no.
pinks show up to. I don't get this. This is all too complicated for me. I
Okay,
don't know.
you
I need a
see,
drink. I need
I
another
talk.
drink.
See, the thing about all these protests, if you know me, I love, sitting down and having long conversations
No.
with a nice cup of something warm,
Yeah.
and oh man, I forgot my cookies, and just have a
Well,
dialogue and just talk about what you think. Why do you think that? Where'd you hear that? This was not like that at all. This was literally a screaming fest,
mhm.
and the reason why this screaming fest existed was because both sides wanted to demonstrate to the media they exist.
So it was FaceTime for cameras. That's all it was. It was FaceTime for cameras.
100%.
Okay.
So the National Conference of Jewish Affairs wanted to demonstrate, hey guys, Jews don't like what's going on in the Democratic Party. Jews and Christians, we condemn it. We don't like it. It's not
Mhm.
cool. There also was the National Coalition for Women in the Middle East. A lot of
Mhm.
the leadership was there. I think
Yeah.
a board member, the
Yeah.
media manager, and the main head of it, this woman who is Turkish, I can forgive her for that. She she went to, as an undercover journalist in Iran, saw child marriages, female genitalia mutilations, murder of all people.
Hmm.
She's seen it all, and she was there condemning anti-Semitism and just the evil that it wreaks over
Hmm.
time. And so, there were several organizations represented. They were there just to prove, hey, we exist and we have a problem with this. Now, the Code Pink people, they were
Hmm.
there to demonstrate we're on to you and we don't like you and we
Hmm.
disagree with you and we also exist as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
So,
Well, I like the quote that you put into your article from the Rabbi Spero, and the quote was really, really very well crafted. Essentially, I don't remember the quote exactly, but the message I got from the quote is, okay, if this resolution passes, then this phony baloney resolution about we're all love and harmony. If it passes, what that means is that no American can defend a country of origin that is being viciously attacked or being
I think I know what you're quoting.
yeah.
He's basically saying you should be able to speak in defense of
Right,
Israel and not
right.
be anti-American.
That's the quote. That's the quote right there. Yeah, you did
And
a
at the
good job.
same, because Ilhan Omar did an actual tour of
Yeah,
several Muslim countries and
yeah,
complimented them,
yeah.
and nobody batted an eye.
I didn't know there were 57 Muslim countries. Rabbi Spero, according to your article, actually brought this to my attention. I did not know this. There's only one Israeli nation, and there are 57 Muslim nations.
Correct me
And
if I'm
half,
wrong. There's only one Christian nation, and that's the Vatican, right? And
right. Well, yeah, yeah.
maybe like a couple other exceptions,
Well,
like
I mean, yeah. Well, yeah. The Muslim nations are basically theocracies. The
okay,
only theocracy that the Christians have is the Catholic religion, and that's located in the Vatican because the Pope is a monarch. So it's a
sure,
theocracy. Yeah.
sure. So yeah, that's pretty much what they're saying right then and there is this is it. Now, I will say this on behalf of the protesters is that
Yeah.
she had arguments. She said that she researched. She didn't think that Ilhan Omar was anti-Semitic for whatever reason.
Mhm.
She pointed to one example, explained how she didn't think that was
You mean
anti-Semitism.
Pelosi? Pelosi.
No, no, no. This is one of the protests. Pelosi wasn't.
Oh, okay.
She wouldn't show up. It was so funny.
Yeah.
There was a staff assistant there. This young kid. It's like
Mhm.
20, whatever.
Yeah.
He's sitting there with his white shirt and tie. And there's like a million people shouting and screaming, and he's just sitting at his laptop, going, looking at Rabbi Spero. Okay, okay. As he's reading this letter, going, "We
Right.
condemn anti-Semitism, and we da, 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 da,
I
da,
know.
da."
I've been there. I've been there. I've
And
seen
he's
these.
like, okay, okay,
It's
yeah,
kabuki.
yeah,
It's kabuki theater. It's real
100%.
live kabuki theater. Real live.
Yes. And
Everybody should go to Congress to see this. It really is terrific.
absolutely, it's every other day.
Yeah.
It's just another day in Congress.
Are
So,
these are these the kind of stories you're going to be covering? Because they're very good stories.
it's only getting better.
Yeah, I mean, these are good stories. I mean, I learned a lot from both of the articles that you published this week, and if I don't know who assigned you the stories, but I hope you get to do more of these kind of stories because they're great background to the main events. You know, we only hear about the main events; we don't hear about the background.
Yeah. Well, more to come. Don't you worry.
More to come. Congratulations, Alex.
Oh, well, thank you. You're far too kind. Folks, thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe. Bye.
Toodles. Toodles.